Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And P.I.L.L Method stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Today we're going to be talking about cash is not king. Cash is not king. You see, for too long, we have been told one thing when the other thing is true. Let's break it down, ladies and gentlemen. The important thing here is that we need money to make things happen, to buy food, to buy shelter, to buy entertainment, to buy transportation. We need money to get things done. And the way we're taught about money matters. But the way that we interact with our money, that most people interact with money, does one thing and one thing only: make other people rich. And the way that you think about your money makes other people rich. So keeping that idea of cash is king takes you out of the realm of investing and leveraging cash so that you can make money individually. So if you have money sitting in a bank, you are losing money every day it sits in the bank. You have money sitting in the bank making 1/10 of 1%. That's not even keeping up with inflation. In fact, you're losing money by keeping it in the bank. You're not making it go to work. If your money's not working, you are losing. I don't care how much money you have. You could have a lot of money. We're not talking about people who are struggling here. We're talking about people who understand that they make quite a bit of money. They do what they want when they want, and they live a very good life. But somebody profits off of the fact that the way that you think about money. Now, many of us have been taught that if you can't purchase it with cash, then you don't need to buy it. I believe the exact opposite. You should, if you're going to buy something, and if you have the resources, use somebody else's money if you have the resources. Now, why would you do that? Why would anybody do that? Okay, why would anybody do that? Borrow money to buy something when they already had the cash. Because as soon as you buy it, as soon as you spend it, you don't have it to invest anymore. So can I give you an example of that? Listen, folks, I need you to participate with me today. Come into the room today, okay? Because this is going to be a serious conversation, and the conversation can be had if it's actual conversation. If I have people who are talking back to me. Good morning, Ian. Ian, listen, if Ian can be here all the way from Australia, okay? All the way from Australia. Good. He says, good evening, Don. What time is it, Ian? What time is it? Ian's here from Australia. Then you can be here in the studio. So Ian, listen, let's give Ian, you see, it's 10 p.m. All right. So you're probably in your office. Go ahead, Ian, and click on that StreamYard link, copy it, paste it into your browser. Come into the studio with me. All right. We haven't had a chance to talk in a good long while. And I'd like to get your opinion on this whole idea of cash versus credit, or cash versus borrowing, especially when we think about how banks do what they do. Okay. The whole banking system is set up so that it seems like it's a service for us, when in fact, banking is in place to make money for the bankers. So if you think let's break it all the way down. If you believe that cash is king, where are you keeping your cash? In a shoebox? Under your mattress? Are you digging a hole in the backyard? What are you doing with your cash? What we're taught is the responsible thing to do is to take cash and put it in your bank. When you take cash and put it in your bank, then the bank, through fractional reserve lending, can lend out 8-to-1, 9-to-1, sometimes even 10-to-1. Okay. So if you put $10,000 in the bank, they can lend out $100,000. Hey, Ian, how are you doing this morning? This evening for you.
Good, thanks.
All right. You going to use your camera today?
You don't Sadly, it's nighttime, mate. I'm in bed.
You don't have to. So, Ian, I'm glad that you're here because, listen, people need to get a different perspective, because most of the people that listen to me or watch me are here in the United States. But tell me, how do you view cash in Australia versus borrowing?
Most of the people do what you just said. They use their own cash. They think cash is king without actually leveraging. It's, to me, what you said about borrowing money with a low interest rate or an overall low interest rate. Why would you do that when you can have the cash to do something else with it?
Right. So listen, so if we are, I'm going to put something up here on my screen. Let me see here. While you're talking, Ian. So Ian, what do you do for a living, just to give people some idea? Okay.
I work in mortgage finance. I'm a mortgage broker.
You're a mortgage broker. Okay. Yep. So you deal with money all the time.
Yep. Every day.
Okay. So you get to see some things.
Yes, you do.
Okay. Now, have some of your clients, Ian, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Do you see some of your clients with a, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in a savings account at a bank?
Due to COVID, probably not as much as what it was pre-COVID, but it's going back that way where people are saving. They're saving for that what if that can happen.
Right.
We in Australia, and I was just reading a post from some brokers and accountants. We have a system in Australia. I think you've got it there. We have an offset account where basically the money sits in an account. You don't get taxed on the interest because it is negating the interest on your home loan. But the money for to actually make sense, you've got to have a lot of money in there and constantly sitting in there.
Right.
Which makes no point. Doesn't make sense.
So they're encouraged to keep money in what you call an offset account. Explain to us what that offset account actually does, so the people here in the U.S. can get a sense of that, and we'll talk about it a little bit.
So if you've got a $500,000 loan and your loan has this facility called offset account, it's a separate savings account to your loan account. What we do in Australia, apart from people that use your method, but what happens is you're encouraged to put all your money, your wages, your salary into that offset account. It'll sit in that account forever and ever. But how it works is the interest rate, say you're paying 5% interest rate. If your loan is 500 and you've got 50,000 sitting in there, you're paying interest on 450.
Okay. All right. So,
but it doesn't work because not everyone can actually have that amount of money just sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
It's very rare.
Okay. And if they do have that kind of money, they feel good about the fact that they're offsetting the interest
Yeah.
on their mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
All right. So now tell me, why would a bank do that? Why would a bank try to make a mortgage cheaper for an individual? Why would a bank do that? Why do they want you to set that money in there so that you can save money on your mortgage? Why would a bank do that?
Because they can then re-loan that money out at higher rates, or they can use it for their own benefit. It's not geared to benefit the client or the customer.
Oh my gosh. So what you're telling me is that if I have an offset account, I'm going to sit money in this account, and the interest that it makes lowers the amount of interest that I pay on my mortgage. The bank is making a lot more interest than that.
Yeah, would do.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
the reason they do it.
That's the only reason why so it's not a service to me.
No. Good no.
Oh my gosh. So it's just one more thing that the bank does to get me to put my money in a situation where it's not doing me the most good.
That's the thing. It's not doing you the most good. It will do you good because you're paying a lower rate of interest at the end of the day. But
Okay.
as you go on about the opportunity cost, that's the principle that most of us don't know about and don't understand how it can actually benefit someone.
Okay, I got Ken Russell on here too. Ken, is this the Ken Russell from Canada? Listen, we're going to get international today. Is that the Ken Russell from Canada? If it is, say so, because he's in finances as well. And you can come into, let's put that, see if you get that link. Okay, Ken, if you can get that link and come into StreamYard as well, we're going to get we're going to have the US. We've got Australia in the house, and we can have somebody who is in finance in Canada as well. So listen, we're going to have an international show for real today if you can come on in. So that would be great, Ken, if you can come in and give a perspective. And you had a question about fractional reserve lending. So let me go ahead and get that ready. Fractional reserve lending. Okay, fractional reserve banking. So we've got that. Okay. All right. And all right. So we've got that on as well. Okay. So hopefully he can come in as well. But let me, in the meantime, I'm going to share. If you can come in, that would be great. Let me see. Let's present this screen. Share the screen. There we go. All right. All right. Let's see here. Cancel. Let's see. No, I don't want to share that screen. All right. There we are. I want to share this screen. There it is. Hey, Ken, how are you doing this morning?
Very well, thank you.
All right. Did you have a question about fractional reserve banking?
I was actually, just as I was hearing the comments around the offset account, I'm just wondering if, the fact that the bank wants to hold more of your cash on their books, that allows them to borrow against the cash that you have on the books, right?
Oh.
So with fractional reserve, as you well know, they can borrow, or they can loan $9 for every dollar that they have on the books.
Right. So tell us who you are and what you do, Ken, and where are you in the world?
London, Ontario. It's a small town between Detroit and Toronto. Small town, 500,000 population. So in financial services, so really look at, participating life insurance for families to help them grow the cash values and utilize the cash values, becoming their own bank, as it were. And also we look at investments for people as well. We typically use insurance products simply because of the guarantees that come along with these products. So yeah, that's the upshot of what we do.
Okay, so great, Ken. So we've got two people here, one from different countries, who are involved with finances, not only for themselves but for other people. So, Ken, what kind of experience do you bring to the table?
Well, I'm a little older these days, so most of my life was spent in the manufacturing sector as an employee, into management, that kind of thing. But back in 2008, I got downsized. I moved into the financial services sector. It's something I had always been interested in, and little did I know what I didn't know. So that has really helped me appreciate and understand our financial system these days, how we are, really at the mercy of the banks. So our mantra here is, rebuilding the middle class, one family at a time, because we're in dark days these days.
Listen, I want to get some information from you and Ian about what is it that you see. What are some of the mistakes people are making, Ken, with their cash? What are some of the mistakes they're making, and what could they be? Give them some idea what they could be doing with that cash.
Well, first and foremost, not many people have a lot of cash. In Canada, anyway, the middle class, house prices have went through the roof here. Obviously, the food prices with inflation that's happened with the fact that the Fed and the Canadian central bank has increased rates. People are in a real tough spot. So there's a lot of fear out there with money. Okay, a lot of people are trying to put a little bit by to buy a house, put a little bit by to pay for future education for their kids. So we tend to see a lot of people with a little bit here, a little bit there, small accounts, and they really don't understand. They look at interest rates, they look at the way they've been taught to look at money. They don't look at the way the P.I.L.L method looks at is, what is the cost of borrowing $1,000 in this loan versus that loan. They don't have the math, they don't have the education, so they follow the headlines.
Mm-hmm. So that when they follow the headlines, so are you saying that that fear is the driver?
Yeah, fear, definitely fear is the driver.
And not taking the time out to do some regular math and saying, what is the best thing? What's the best thing I can do with the money that I have, that I'm making right now?
I think that's true. I think also part of the fear and not doing the math, part of the fear is that who do you trust? If someone like yourself or myself gives them an alternative, right, a different way of looking at things, do they trust that what we are saying is true when the overriding message keeps hammering in at them, from the media and from the banks and from our government, for example, right? Okay. So definitely, as you're looking at their opportunity costs, these are foreign terms to people,
Okay. All right. So from your perspective, talk to us about opportunity costs, and then I'm going to get Ian to come in and talk about some of the same things. So opportunity costs, what does that really mean? What should that mean to the people who are our viewers today?
Well, like a simple one I use, because again, I talk to people a lot about participating life, about spend, save, and grow the same dollar at the same time. So an opportunity cost example I would use is you got two people with $100,000 invested in the same investment. They're making, say, 10%. So if someone has $100,000 in their account at 10%, at the end of the year, they should have another $10,000 there. A simple maths, 110,000.
Right.
That's client number one. Client number two needs a new car. So they've got the $100,000 invested in the exact same investment. But what they do is they take $50,000 out to pay for their car. So now the money that's sitting in their account, okay, is $50,000, which is making 10%. They've now got $55,000 in their account at the end of the year versus the opportunity to have 110.
Wow.
So really, the difference between the two of them is $55,000. So that $50,000 car actually cost you $55,000 because you lost the opportunity to make $5,000 on your cash.
Oh.
So that's how I would frame it for people to understand opportunity cost.
Okay, so Ian, how would you help people to understand opportunity cost?
I like that idea. Actually, it's very powerful.
Yes.
But getting it back to a lower dollar value where people can perceive it easier is if, for example, in Australia, we're very much into the coffee and the cappuccinos and whatever.
Right.
Now, a lot of people will go to work and spend $5, $6, $7, $8 on a pre-made coffee or a store-bought coffee. Now, if you turn around and say, right, that's $5 a day, that's 25 a week, whatever it is a year. If you then put that money into where you're going now, into your opportunity on the amortization schedule, and you put that extra payment onto a loan or to a credit card or whatever it is, any form of debt, it's going to cost them more because they're wasting money where they could go and buy their own coffee or bring their own coffee from home or whatever it might be. It's just the as you had on that screen, the definition is what you lose in relation to what you could make by investing differently or spending differently.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute, and then we're going to go back to the example that Ken was talking about. So if we have a $420,000 mortgage at 7%, and it's at for 30 years, the payment is $27.94.27. With that first, here's how much interest the bank wants on that: $585,000, almost $586,000 on a $420,000 loan. In fact, the bank wants you to pay $1,005,937 for your $420,000 house. Ladies and gentlemen, does that make any sense? The bank wants to make a whole lot of money on this. So what we're doing, what Ken just explained, Ian just explained, is talking about a cup of coffee. So if I make this payment here, all right, my very first payment, and if I take this $346.28 for month 2 and I prepay that, I save $2,447.99. All right, in interest I don't have to pay. So if I do the math here, on $2,447.99, but I prepaid. Okay, I took some money out of the bank, gave it to my mortgage company ahead of time. I'm going to divide that by $346.28. There we go. That's $7.69. $7.69 per dollar. Per dollar. Are you guys hearing me? That's $7.07. $7.07. Let's just round it off to $7. For every dollar you put on this mortgage when you want to, instead of when the bank tells you to, for every dollar you save $7. If you spend $7 for a cup of coffee, this is what Ian is saying. If you spend $7 for a cup of coffee, that cup of coffee does not cost you $7. It costs you $49, because that $7 applied to your mortgage could save you $7 for every dollar you're putting on the mortgage. Are you hearing? Is that what you're saying, Ian? Do I have it about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that cup of coffee is a $49 cup of coffee when you take a look at how much interest you're actually paying. We don't have a good view of cash. So let's go back to Ken here. So Ken, I've got $100,000. Okay. Now in the US, we have a thing called whole life insurance. We have a thing called IUL, Index Universal Life. I'm sure you have something similar in Canada. So here's the scenario. I've got $100,000 in my bank account. Okay. Could I take my 100,000 and jumpstart a permanent life insurance policy that has that builds cash value? So I can take my insurance policy, take my money and put it into my insurance policy. Do you have anything like that builds cash value in Canada?
Yeah, there's a couple of different options. Definitely, as you're talking about, index universal life policies are there.
Yep.
I prefer participating life. The money is managed by the insurance company. They pay you dividends at the end of the year. The dividend buys more insurance for you, and that additional insurance also has its cash value portion.
Okay.
I prefer that because if you want to borrow against the cash value, you can borrow up to 90%.
Okay.
With the ULs, you can only borrow up to 75% because of the fluctuation in the investment component.
Okay. Now that is key, folks. I need you to listen to this. This is how you can better use your money. Okay. This is how you can better use your money. And I'll tell you ahead of time. The P.I.L.L method has just integrated using in the same program using permanent life insurance, just like we're getting ready to explain to you now. All right. So I have $100,000, Ken. All right. Sitting in a bank account, making here in the US about 0.1%. What is the average I could make if I could put it in the policy that you're talking about yearly?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would suggest to you that you'd be making about 4 to 5% once the policy levels out. In the first years, it grows at a more rapid rate. But after the about year 17 to 20 of the policy, things level out to about 4 or 5%.
Okay, so now I've got $100,000. Okay, I got $100,000, and then I could take that money, and with my first insurance premium, now I'm going to take my $100,000 and put it in my insurance policy. Okay, and you're saying I could take $90,000 back out.
Yeah, once you build a cash value up to $100,000, then you're able to access and it's like a revolving line of credit. So you're able to access $90,000, and whatever you pay back is just available again for you to use. Okay,
so let me ask you this, Ken. Sure. You had an example where I've got $100,000 in the bank. All right. I'm making, or in an investment, I can make 10% or $10,000, but I'm going to take out $50,000 and buy a car. Okay. And now if I take $50,000 out to buy a car, I'm only making money on $50,000 now. And so now I'm only going to make about $5,000 instead of the $10,000 that I could have made.
Yes.
So isn't that about the same? Isn't that about the same thing? If I take if you want, let me see here. If I take $90,000 out of my insurance policy, am I only making interest on $10,000 now?
No, the beauty about the participating we call it participating life, right?
Right.
because it participates in the dividends of the company. That's why it's called participating. The actual size and amount of the dividend is based on the death benefit and not the cash value.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you have a loan against your cash value from the insurance company, at the end of the year when the dividends are paid out, they're paid out based on what your total death benefit is. So you continue to get the growth in your account,
Mm-hmm.
even although you're using the money in the form of a loan for whatever purpose.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this right, and so we can explain
Sure.
it to our people how they can use their cash.
Sure.
I got $100,000. I'm going to put it into my. I'm going to put it into. I'm going to put it into my insurance policy. So now I'm going to instantly get to the point where I've got $100,000 cash value because I'm going to put it in as cash value. All right. I'm going to overpay it.
Sure.
Can I? Okay. So now, but if I take $90,000 out to invest someplace else, am I taking my money out or am I borrowing the insurance company's money?
Yeah. In reality, the insurance company will give you a loan and use based on your cash value. So yeah, they'll give you a loan out of their general funds.
Mm-hmm.
Not, it's not coming out of your actual policy. It's a loan against the collateral of the cash value.
Okay. Now I think I've got this now. So this is going to be important, ladies and gentlemen. So I can take out. Let's do the car. Let's do the car example again. All right. I'm going to take out $50,000 out of my insurance policy, and I'm going to buy my car with that. But what I'm hearing you say is that my $100,000 that I have, my cash value of $100,000 is not affected. I still have $100,000 making money in my insurance policy, even though I took $50,000 out to buy a car.
Yeah, and we're talking about the cash value here, Don. I just want to make it clear that again, the money that you're making on your insurance policy is based on the death benefit, not the cash value. And normally the death benefit is a lot higher than the cash value. Okay, so indeed, yeah, you get a loan out of the general funds from the insurance company, and it does not impact the growth of your insurance policy.
So that's right. So my $100,000 that I have in is not impacted.
Correct.
Okay. So now in the US, we do that a little differently. And this is how our program works. So folks, here's what we're talking about. You can put in a certain amount of money, build up that cash value. And when you borrow that money, you're not affecting the money that you have in the policy making interest, which could be on, let's say it's because of how finances fluctuate. Let's say you're making between 6 and 10% on average. That money is making money. When you borrow money against that, all right, you're using that as collateral. So then you still have $100,000 in your policy working. That is huge. Instead of just putting your money in the bank. If you put your money in the bank and you take out 50,000 of your 100,000, you have reduced your principal by 50,000. Therefore, you are making less money on your money. When you put it in a cash value life insurance policy, then your $100,000 continues to work and make dividends. This is huge. While you're taking money out to not only you can purchase a car with it, and even better, you can invest that money so that you can, let's say you want to put it in an investment. Okay. Let's say you want to buy a rental property. Let's say you want to invest it in a business. And this is how you use cash, ladies and gentlemen. Your cash should be making babies. Cash is not king. You shouldn't be looking to be satisfied with looking at your cash in the bank. It should be making money. Do I have that right? Do I have that right, Ken?
Yes, I concur with everything you've said there. These are the things that we try to teach people on how to properly store their cash inside life insurance.
Okay, so here's what I do, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I do. I don't use cash to buy things. And I'm going to compare me with a bank. Okay? Banks don't use their money to invest. They don't use their money. Banks use our money. Okay? It's called leverage. And here's how you leverage something. You want to pay the least amount you can to make the most amount of money you can. So banks literally have different ways for you to put money in their bank through checking accounts, through offset accounts, through escrow accounts. There's all kinds of ways for you to put money in a bank through savings accounts. All right. And then they will pay you pennies on the dollar for the use of your money. And then they take your money and invest it, your money and my money, and invest it in other places and make a whole lot of money with that money. Now, what they're also doing, ladies and gentlemen, is not just paying you pennies on the dollar for the use of that money. They actually have the nerve to charge you fees. Talk to us about the fees. They actually have the nerve to charge you fees on top of that just to set your money in the bank so they can make money with your money. Ian, talk to us about Ian and Ken, talk to us about how unfair that it really is to charge us fees so that they can make money with our money.
It's criminal.
It's basically usury. The fact is, it's just another kind of it's like tax, right?
Yes.
You might have income tax, or you might have a state tax, or a provincial tax. It's all tax. Whether it's a fee or whether it's interest, it's money that comes out of your account. I think it's criminal. I think when you look at for the small balances a lot of people have in their checking account at the end of the month, when you look at the interest they're paying and the fees they're paying, if you add up all the interest, add up all the fees, and look how much they've got there, it's usury. It's excessive.
Wow. Isn't that something? So that they're making money, they're using our money, and they're paying us pennies on the dollar for the use of our money. And on top of that, they're charging fees. So what can we do? Can we still use banks, but make it beneficial for us? How do we use banks to our benefit? And once we know how the game is played, okay, Ken, Ian, do you have a way that we can continue to use banks, but make it so that we can benefit?
I'm not certain it's available in the States or Canada. We've got similar systems, but back to the fear that's going around in our country at the moment is our cost of living.
Yes.
The prices are just going up for everything. There was we call it crumpets in Australia. They're a breakfast, they're like a toasted bun sort of thing.
Right.
And I remember back not that long ago, they were about $1.85, and then they're about $4. And it's like, when did that just double or triple in value? But what we have in Australia, we have one of the most probably sensible systems for saving superannuation, which is I think you guys call it the 401k. Now, what we can do in Australia at the moment, until the legislation changes, is we can actually put our super into there, which is instead of going into the life insurance companies, which pay a very small return on that money, we can actually use those funds to borrow for investment properties, which then means, as you say, you're leveraging the dollars in your account. We can actually now go to 90% borrowing. There is an insurance premium, but at the end of the day, the insurance is insignificant when you work out what the gain on the property value is going to be. So I've got a client who he's new to Australia. He's from Germany. He's got about 450,000 collectively in his own super. We set up what we call a self-managed super fund, which basically it's managed by the members of the fund. It's all audited and all that sort of thing. But he has a property worth 1.8 million in Australian dollars. And he's in real estate, and he's not ever for the last few years invested in real estate to go out and buy property that will grow in value over time. So I've now said to him, to an accountant that I know, to get all the funds set up. He can draw the money from Germany, bring it into Australia, and he can pretty much go out and buy probably 4 or 5 properties in the next 3 or 4 years just on his super fund balance alone, let alone what equity he has in his own home.
So he is using his money through the banks.
He uses a small portion of his money because banks don't generally lend. Technically, banks won't lend you 100%.
Right.
They'll lend you 80%, 90%, whatever.
Right.
Now, for him, he doesn't need to use his own cash. He could borrow from his own property as a deposit for the investment property and use the super fund to borrow the 80 or 90%, which means he uses none of his cash. It's all borrowed money, and his value of those properties will grow up in value because in Australia, our property values have skyrocketed over the last 3 years or so. So he doesn't need to use any of his own cash. He's on about $150,000, $60,000 a year in income, him and his wife. So there's income's there to support it.
Right.
But the beauty about that product in Australia is that whilst the major banks pulled out of that lending, there are others that have basically gone in and started lending this sort of money. And the ability to get quick funds through that system without the need to know what you've done outside, what your borrowings are, what your expenses are, means the process is so quick and simple. He just goes and borrows the 80%, 90% through his super fund, and over time the property will grow in value. So if he was to use the P.I.L.L method, for example,
right,
he gets the best of both worlds. He pays his loan down quick, but the property grows in value.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let me make sure I understand this. Because he can take out, he can borrow against his equity. Okay.
The property.
Right, the property itself. So let's say he can get 90% out. Okay. Where does that other 10% come from?
It'll either be his savings or his own cash value in his super fund.
Okay.
Which uses cash, or he could draw money out of his equity on his own property. So not you cash, he just goes to the bank and borrows the 10% plus the cost to buy the property.
Okay.
He could borrow that, put it into a super fund as a contribution, and he's borrowed 100%.
Okay. So now here's what I'm hearing. I've got 90% that I could get from my equity. All right.
Yep.
And then I have an investment over here that you're calling a super fund, but it could be anything in something similar in the U.S., something similar in Canada. We got a super fund over here that I can use as collateral, and I can borrow against that as well.
Yep.
So now I'm into this investment property with no money out of pocket because of previous investments I've made. So it does take some time to get there.
It does. But if you start out Our system, our superannuation system started in the mid-80s.
Yes.
One of our former prime ministers set about setting the system up, and everyone in Australia their employer pays a percentage into their nominated super fund.
Right.
Now, most of those funds are what we call retail funds, which are managed by big corporations, and the returns aren't anywhere near what you might make on, say, investing in US shares, for example. But what it was designed to do is to get people to have a superannuation fund balance when they retire from the workforce. So that way they're not reliant on the government paying out pensions and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
They actually fund, and that's now around about 10%. So every person has got a paid job, like a wage and salary job. Their employer puts in 10% of their wage or the value of it into their own like the employee super fund at no expense to the employee.
Okay. So can the employee match that? 10%?
They can. We can put in on a per annum basis about $25,000 per year into that fund if we so desire.
Okay. So listen, folks, I need you to hear what's going on here, because you want to start taking advantage of everything you can when it comes to understanding your money. Can I get, Ken and Ian, if you can click on where it says private chat over on the right side and put your contact information in there. You can put an email, you can put a phone number, and we'll place it in the comment section for you if you'll do that. So folks, if you're listening to us from Australia, we've got somebody for you to talk to. If you're in Canada, we have somebody for you to talk to. So we're going to put their contact information in the chat right now so that we can put it up there for you. Here's the other thing I need you to know. If you want to know more about the P.I.L.L method, because both of these gentlemen understand the benefit of not just making money, but saving money through interest cancellation on your loans. How about doing everything that they're talking about? Because there's a way to do it here in the US. Everything that they're talking about, we're going to give you my phone number to my office today as well. All right. I would love to get more questions in here. So put your questions in, or you can come in on our stage just like these gentlemen did. Click the link and come in and ask your questions live, or you can type them into the comment section. But you want your money doing the absolute most that it can. You want it making money, and you want to leverage other people's money and pay them pennies on the dollar for the use of it. And there's nothing stronger than using AI, artificial intelligence, in helping you to borrow money at 75 to 80% off. Not the interest rate, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the interest cost. We're making money with our money, and we are saving money when we buy a house, when we buy a car, when we purchase education, when we use loans of any type, of any stripe, even credit cards. You can borrow money at a much lesser cost if you know what to do. Now, here is the big benefit of all of this. Let me see. Critical point analysis. Here's what we mean. Everybody's going to be different, and you need to have your situation assessed. So, how much of your money should be going into an investment? How much of your money should be used to cancel interest on your loans? Here's what you don't want. You do not want to violate the law of diminished return, meaning you have too much of your money going to investments, then you'll have too little money going to cancel interest on your loans. And vice versa. You don't want to have too much money going over to cancel interest and miss opportunities of investing long term and gaining compound interest over the next 10, 20, or 30 years. Compound interest working for you is phenomenal. And I want to talk about some illustrations, something that you talk to your clients about, gentlemen, to show them what could be done with a small amount of money. You're starting out at 20, 25 years old, and then working for the next 30 or 40 years, or, putting money into that. What a small amount of money can do at compounded interest over your working life. Do you have some simple illustrations to give us some real numbers of what small amounts can end up being at the time of retirement? Ken, do you have something like that?
Well, yeah, I do actually. We have a wealth plan for children that we show to parents and grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So a simple little example, I had a 4-year-old boy,
Yep.
$200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. If you pay annually, you can get about 6 or 7% off of that, but $200 a month. By the time this 4-year-old gets to the age 65, they have well over $1 million in cash value.
Wait a minute, Ken. Wait a minute. $200 a month at 6% doesn't seem like very much.
No, I'm sorry. If I say 6% there, I meant that if you pay the premiums, if you contribute annually,
yes,
you can save the modal, which is about 6 or 7%. So,
wow.
Right. So what I tell people is pay $200 a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then once your cash value gets over $2,400,
right,
then what you do is you borrow the annual premiums, which would be 6% less than $2,400, and then you just pay the loan back, right? So again, it's just a little savings.
Okay.
But the key is when someone puts in the $200 a month for their children or grandchildren with a small amount of money over a long period of time, you're able to grow a lot of money in a fund, right?
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? 6%, $200 a month, a small amount of money. Okay. Talk to us about when you put that $200 in a month, does it get easier to pay the $200 the longer you do it?
Yeah, that one of the fears that I have for clients, and I tell them this, is we build it in such a way that you can double the contribution, because as we see inflation taking off,
Mm-hmm.
that $200 now really becomes worth less. As Ian gave the example of the coffee, right? You buy a Starbucks coffee here at $7 or $8.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came to Canada, you could get a coffee for like a quarter. And so, and our big brand here is Tim Hortons. So it's now like $1.50 or something for a small coffee, when it used to be a quarter. So you have to keep up, right? You just cannot limit yourself to $200. You have to be able to put more in as circumstances change.
Right.
Okay. But this child, 4-year-old, now hits 65. They've got over $1 million in their fund. They are able to take out about $38,000 a year,
right,
tax-free, because they get a loan from the bank. They use the value of the cash value of the life insurance as collateral.
Right.
So now they're able to capitalize the interest on this. They don't have to pay it back. So for about 20 years, they're able to take out about $38,000 and still have a $1 million death benefit at the end of it.
Wow. So listen, folks, did you hear that? Did you hear what we're talking about here? Is that a small amount of money over a long period of time, compounded interest, can have over $1 million, and over time, it gets easier to pay. So you can actually double your contribution and have a lot more money if you have the skill and the advice to do this. Small amounts of money. So listen, talk to us about starting out. If I have over, let's say I start with a small amount of money over a longer period of time, or I start late in life with a much larger amount. So I could start here with $200 a month, but for 15 years, I'm not doing that. So I cut 15 years off of that, start 15 years later with $1,000 a month. Can I make up for lost time?
Well, you can, but I don't know if $1,000 would be enough. Right?
Talk to us about that. Because that's how some of us think, though.
Yeah, but if you can't afford $200 now, what makes you think you're going to be able to afford $1,000 in the future? It just doesn't work, right? And unfortunately, we see a lot of people in their 40s and 50s who are now trapped. The opportunity that they had to make the decision for themselves has passed them by. Since we've seen the lockdowns and this mega shift in the economy, the poverty that is hitting our society today, the number of people that are being left behind, it's a scary time for people. I just don't see people having the opportunity unless there's another seismic shift back. I just don't see anybody 40-year-old having $1,000 or $1,500 a month to start a plan like this, right?
To make up for lost time, you're saying they would have to put in a lot more money if they start 15 or 20 years late.
There's two things. They got to put more money in, and they got to increase their risk.
Increase risk. Okay.
Yeah.
So to make more interest faster, there's a greater risk of losing your principal or the amount of the money that you're investing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Absolutely. A lot of what we see movements in the market, it really is. People build things up. All these recessions that has, people build up their money year after year, 2008, 2015. We seem to build it up, and then the banks, the people who know what they're doing, come in and just rake the profits off the top, and everybody's back down trying to start again. It's a sad cycle that we're in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here before we get back to Ian here, so I want you to think about this. I want you to think about what we're talking about here. If you have the cash now, put it to work. Put it to work. Find a way to make it work. Because I'm telling you, for consumers, okay, there are consumers and there are places to put our money. Let me tell you something. No matter what you do, whether you make a lot of money, whether you make a little money, or whether you make no money with your money, those who are at the top of the food chain are always going to make money no matter what, whether you make a lot of money, a medium amount of money, or no money. The people at the top of the food chain are still going to make money. What you want to do is maximize what you can do with your money. And there is a way to do that if you do it properly, whether you start early or start later in life. There's still something you can do. But if you have the ability, don't put it off. Start your fund, whatever it is you're doing, start it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Move on this information today, whether you're starting early, at midlife, or later in life. Starting today is better than doing nothing. Let's go. We're going to hear from Dr. Eric Thomas right now, talking about the P.I.L.L. method and what he did for his wife even though he's a high income earner. Let's talk about somebody who is confident in their ability to make money, living with somebody who is more concerned about security. Let's hear about it.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Listen, for all of you, I just put it in the chat, in the comment section, the office number, 256-886-1867, 256-886-1867. If you are in the United States and want to know more information about what you're hearing today and to see if there is a comparable way of doing what you're hearing about what they're doing in Australia, about what they're doing in Canada, and what we're doing in the United States. What can we do here in the US so that we can be in better position to make money and to save money? Just like Eric Thomas here. Okay. He went to, so we're talking about going to ice10k.com, ice10k.com. All right. And then you'll see his picture here. Scroll down underneath his picture and click on Get a Savings and Earnings Report. If you are about to get a mortgage or you already have a mortgage, there is money in your mortgage, in your loans that you don't know about that you can recover. Right now, the way that loans are set up, they are set up so that you can pay them back in the most inefficient way possible. One more time, the most inefficient way possible. In other words, you're going to pay way more interest than you need to because we are unaware of how that works. So if you have a house, if you have a car, if you have student loans, if you have credit cards, there's money that you can recover from those loans that you can invest. Okay. If you have cash in the bank, there are ways that you can use that cash and make it do double duty. We're talking about putting your cash to work and borrowing it at the same time to invest someplace else. What? Yes. In the P.I.L.L method now, we have what's called P.I.L.L method Pro. P.I.L.L method Pro, that you have, if you have some cash built up, if you have 401ks, let's say you had several different jobs. You had a job here and you worked there for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and then you had another job and then another job, and you have 401ks left over in those jobs. Do you know that that can be converted to cash in a way that you don't have to pay the 10% penalty? And we can show you how you can use that cash in the P.I.L.L method system now so that you can pay a lot less interest, and that cash still makes money for you. If you want to know more about that, give us a call. If you want to know how to use your money so that you can cut your interest cost by 75%, take that money that you didn't pay in interest and then invest that money also so that you can have $1 million or $2 at the end of your work, when you're through working, and go into retirement with even more money, with a paid off house, and then learn how to leverage those funds. It's going to be a magical time for you, Because here's what's good about what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, and using your cash wisely. You can live well while you're building up your cash, while you're building up your, building up your net worth, while building up your net worth so that you will not outlive your money, but along the way, you can live well while you're doing it. You don't have to impact your standard of living so that you can grow your net worth exponentially. You don't have to choose either or. You can do both. And what you want to do is get a free savings and earnings report today. Find out how much interest you could save on your loans, and then take that money that you didn't pay in interest and see how you can invest that so that you can make more money. Call us at our office today, 256-886-1867, and or get a free savings report. Fill out the savings report today and get started on that, ladies and gentlemen. So listen, fellas, I appreciate Ken being here today. I appreciate Ian being here today and talking about how we can help your clients and our clients understand money from the basics. Let's now talk about just everyday living and managing our expenses. Is that important to this whole process, how we manage our day-to-day living? Talk to us about that. Ken, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. I'm associated with the ICCA, which is the Institute of Certified Cash Flow Advisors. So one of the things that we try to do is do a discovery plan to free up some wasted money, kind of like what Ian was talking about with coffees and all that kind of stuff. We really do want to, we try to, not have people change their lifestyle and put them on budgets, but we just need to control by maybe using a 2 checking account system, using a credit card properly, to control their spend, to make sure that they've got, number one, that they've got all their bills covered and paid for, and then they've got their disposable income set up in such a way that they use their disposable income and they don't start running into trouble with spending too much and not having the bills paid. So we kind of help them get started like that. But quite frankly, Don, that to me is just the start. I think the education portion that you're talking about, the P.I.L.L method, really important. Using life insurance as a storehouse for your money is a good thing. It can be passed on to the next generation, intergenerational wealth. There's a lot of components, but stepping through it, controlling their cash flow to start with. Number 2, coming into the P.I.L.L method, where you can reduce your income expenses, to me are the foundation of changing people's lives around. As we say it, rebuilding the middle class, because it's shrinking rapidly.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to hear what he just said. Let me put it in different words. Cash flow management right now. We're not talking about budgeting in the negative sense of the word. We're talking about your cash flow and managing it so that your money buys more. You can buy more with less when you manage the cash flow. And here's what we're doing. $1 is doing several different things. $1 is doing this. You have your dollar purchasing your house. You also have that same dollar paying less interest for that house. You have money in an investment in your life insurance, but your life insurance, if you set it up correctly, it can pay you while you're still alive. You don't have to die to use it. Did you know that you can have it so that you can have some riders on your life insurance, so that if something happens to you, that where you get you have a chronic illness, or maybe a terminal diagnosis, there's monies that you can use your life insurance for while you're alive, even to the point where you can borrow against it, and that money you take out is not taxable in the United States. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You can set up your life insurance policy to the point where when you retire, you can take money out monthly or annually, tax-free. And if you set it up right, you could do it for the rest of your life. We have people set up to take out $10, $12, $15, $20,000 a month for the rest of their life out of their life insurance, and they still have a decent death benefit to pass on to their heirs. Get this, tax free. What? Yeah. No, no death tax on life insurance. Okay, the people that get that money from your after you pass, they don't have to pay taxes on it if you do it right. There are so many things we can do. This $1, your dollars can do several different things, not just one thing, but several different things at the same time while you're making money and saving money, ladies and gentlemen. So, Ian, talk to us about cash management. What are you doing with your clients and helping them to manage their cash flow, manage what they're making and what they're spending, so that they can do more with less?
I guess the best thing that's come out of the last few years with our banking system is when clients go to borrow for their home, the banks now want to set. The banks know this information. If they go to the same bank that their savings accounts are held, the banks know what they spend their money on, and it's pretty much these days. If I write a loan for someone, I've actually got to interrogate their accounts, which I can do with software from a separate company, and it will analyze what they've spent in different categories. But that wasn't around 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but it's becoming more and more. Well, it's becoming policy. Pardon me, where the banks will actually sit down and they'll analyze. They've got software that does this. So where we used to be able to just get away with spending what we want, if you want to borrow for any reason in Australia, you've got to have that information at hand. They've got to give it to us. We then analyze it and we send it to the bank saying their expenditures are X. So in a way, they're actually being monitored without them actually really knowing about it. But I too have another program that I've used for a number of years over here, and it's a similar thing. And budget is a bad word because budgets never work, basically. But if you use it so that the client will learn from what they spend and spend better and then invest at the same time, overall that person will be way better off than someone who doesn't do it.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I got a little secret to tell you all. The P.I.L.L method came about, this whole idea of the offset mortgage and everything started in Australia years ago. So this is it's amazing. Started in Australia. Then a guy named Richard Branson picked it up and did something similar in the UK. And then from the UK went over to Canada. And then in the US, we plugged a computer system into those ideas so that we can mesh the best of all of those ideas into one idea. Saving money in interest. Okay. So like I have on the screen here, this particular couple is going to save $142,000 in interest that they don't have to pay. They're going to be out of debt in 7.2 years if that's what they want to do. All right. with everything that they owe. Not only that, but we can plug an insurance policy, and that is a permanent life insurance policy into this program now. It's called P.I.L.L Method Pro, where you can actually use your life insurance to help pay off your debt, but you don't have to reduce your cash benefit. So if you have built up cash in your policy that's making money, you can borrow against that cash and not reduce the cash benefit that you have in here that's making money. You can borrow against it to help pay down the debt. And guess what? You don't have to pay it back. And your life insurance company cannot deny you a loan even if you're not working. They have to give you the loan. It's written into the policy, whether you're working or not, and you can choose to pay it back or not. There are so many different things that the P.I.L.L method can do now. We're taking these ideas from Canada, from Australia, from the UK, bringing it to the US and putting it all into one artificially intelligent system that guarantees that you will pay the least amount of interest on your loan and help you to discover what is the right amount of money to put into your investments. And this program will automatically monitor your cash flow and your insurance product to make sure the right amount of monies are going to super fund your insurance and to save you money in interest on your loans, working together, building, watch this now, ladies and gentlemen. So when we go to the reports, we can build what's called net worth. Net worth. All right. And you can take a look at interest, wealth accumulation over the years, where most people would be out of debt here on this particular loan. In 2074, they're just now getting out of debt if they can in 2074. But in this scenario, using the system correctly, they could have an extra $2.4 million using the money no longer going to debt. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the best of all of these worlds. Australia, Canada, the UK, and the US coming together with an AI system that does all of this from P.I.L.L Method International. Folks, if you don't get your savings and earnings report today, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, listening to these gentlemen, I want to thank them in our final minutes here. I want to give them opportunity to give us a final word. We're going to start with Ian. Give us a final word, Ian, about what your clients can do, what you're doing for your clients, and how they can contact you. We have your contact information. Ian, talk to us in our final minutes of the show today.
Hopefully this will be before my battery dies. Essentially, I think the one word that I do or use is education, because sadly, as you're aware, and it happens pretty much globally, we don't get taught. We get taught 1 and 1's 2, but we don't get taught the rules side of mathematics, and these two principles, compound interest and opportunity cost. I learnt them in high school doing commerce, which is a business course, and I still understand the principles, but I would say 95% of our population have absolutely no idea what it means, and they are skeptical when someone says, "Oh, I can do this, this, and this," because it's what's been drilled into them by the media and the banks in particular is their way is the best way. And it isn't the best way. They will get beaten every day of the week by the banks. The banks make more money out of us. Like, their profit is astronomical. Every quarter they get reported, we make $4, $5, $6 billion in profit, which comes from the their customers. And the shareholders are happy, but the customers get penalized every day of the week.
Wow. How many people have heard about the millions of dollars that the CEOs of these companies actually make? Can you imagine if they're making millions of dollars a year? How much is the whole banking system making to pay their CEOs millions of dollars a year? How much are they actually making? If they're paying out millions, they're making trillions off of our misunderstanding how the whole program works. What Ian is talking about is become educated on the process so that you can take that money out of their coffers and put it into your own family bank. All right. Ken, talk to us about what's our final word here from you today.
Well, I agree with Ian. It's no accident that we're not taught this at school. Okay, why would I educate you on money when I want to make money from you? So it's no accident. I would suggest to you, part of my journey, there's a couple of books that I found fascinating. It was Nelson Nash, who's recently passed away. He had a book out, and still has a book out. It's called Becoming Your Own Bank. So that was an eye-opener for me. Robert Kiyosaki, which Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he has a great cash flow game that you can play online. They're very good. Kiyosaki's very good, but he doesn't get into the granular like you do, Don. You've got a program there that really, if people can just open up their mind and just follow the program, they'll be better off. So definitely, I agree. People need to educate themselves a little bit more, and they have to realize that they are being duped. The system is stacked against you for a reason, right? Don't ask your bank manager. Don't ask the clerk at the bank. Don't ask the financial advisor at the bank. They don't know. They don't know. So, yeah, that's my last point here.
Thank you very much for that. You know, because I've actually told people that myself, Ken, don't ask them at the bank, because people at the bank are educated on one thing: how to sell the bank's products. They're not educated on how to best serve their clients. You see, if I can give the client one or two things that can make them some money, but in the same time make the bank a lot of money on not understanding the whole picture, I feel better as a customer because I'm making some money. But I have no idea what I could be doing, because here is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know what we don't know. One more time, we don't know what we don't know. Therefore, if you can't miss what you can't measure, you don't miss what you're not educated on. How could you? I can't miss it because I didn't even know I could have it. We are here for this particular reason. You need to know what you could be doing with your cash, instead of being told cash is king so other people can make money. That's it. You're told cash is king so other people can make money. We're telling you that cash is not king. Cash flow is king. How much money is flowing into your own personal private bank? Did you know that a lot of the services that banks offer you, you can become your own bank and do it for yourself and make that money? Oh, yes. You could be making money with your money, and we could teach you how you could become your own bank. If you want to know more about how to convert your cash into net worth, you need to call us at 256-886-1867. 256-886-1867. We're putting that in the chat, and go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com, and also get your savings and earnings report today. Start teaching your children young. 7th and 8th graders can understand these principles, and one way to do it is my book. My book is the only book on Amazon that even begins to teach how an amortization schedule actually works, how banks make their money through interest in a way that we were not taught while we were in school, and how you can use that money, leverage it through the P.I.L.L method opportunity cost calculator to turn it into millions by the time they're ready to retire. Even if you've started late, your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and nephews can do a lot better in life just starting to teach them the principles from this book and using the magic of AI to help you to manage your finances. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here today. Don't forget about it. We're going to be back here on Sunday. On Sunday, what are we talking about on Sunday? You are going to love it. You're going to love it. Velocity banking gone wrong. Velocity banking gone wrong. I'm going to show you some instances where velocity banking doesn't do you any favors. People ask me all the time, Don, is the P.I.L.L method like velocity banking? And I have to tell them, absolutely not. Velocity banking gets more people in trouble than it helps. One more time. Velocity banking gets more people into trouble than it helps. If you want to know more about how that works versus the P.I.L.L method, you want to be here at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time or 8:30 a.m. Central Time, where we talk about this Sunday about velocity banking gone wrong. I want to thank Ken Russell. I want to thank Ian Pedley, coming from all over the world today, folks, to talk with you about finances, about how we are taught that cash is king, when in reality, you want to know how to develop cash flow several different ways. We'll see you on Sunday, everybody. And happy Sabbath to everyone here. Don't call me tomorrow because I will be in church. So listen, we'll see you back here on Sunday, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye. How many want to know how to pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years? You can do all of this without refinancing, without change to your budget, without sacrificing lifestyle.
Me and my husband do the P.I.L.L method, and last year we were able to pay down $33,000 on our mortgage without feeling like we were poor. We still did tons of entertaining things and enjoyed our family.
You don't have to eat beans and rice every day. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to sell pizzas at night to pay off your mortgage. All you need to do is pay the bank less interest. That's what we're talking about today. Here is what P.I.L.L method stands for: prepayment of principal, isolation of principal amounts, leverage, and liquidity. You understand it? You have a way of getting out of debt more efficiently. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. You think you're buying a $500,000 home. The true cost of that home is what? $758,000. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 51.777%. That's what's going on with this loan. The ability to read and defeat an amortization schedule is not taught at any level of financial education. I need you to understand the power of a penny. You will not hear what I'm talking about from Dave Ramsey. Do you know why? Because I own the copyright. I literally wrote the book.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
is I'm going to go through the P.I.L. method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.